Hey, hi, hello friends. Today we're going to see the second chapter of Shri Sai Satcharitra. Object of writing the work, incapacity and the boldness in the undertaking, discussion, conferring significance and prophetic title of Hemapant. Necessity of a guru. In the last chapter, the author mentioned about a work from Marathi book. Continuing with the same object of writing of the work. In the first chapter, he described the miracle and destroying the epidemic of cholera by simply grinding the wheel and throwing floors on the outskirts of the village. We'll see incapacity and boldness in the undertaking work. Hemapanta thought that he was not a fit person to undertake this work. I do not know to the life of intimate friend, nor I do not know my own. Then how can I write on the life of a saint who is an incarnation, which even Vedas were unable to do? The premier poet of Maharashtra, Shri Gyaneshwar Maharaj, has stated that Lord loves those who write the lives of saints, and saints also have a peculiar method of their own, getting the services which the devotees successfully accomplished. The saints inspire the work. The devotee becomes only an indirect cause or instrument to achieve the end. Who inspired in this matter? In fact, Hemapantaji surrendered at his feet. Hemapanta says, I could not ask myself for the permission that granted from Shri Sai Baba. I requested Mr. Madhavrao Deshpande, alias Shama Baba, most intimate devotee, to speak to him for me. He pleaded for my cause and said to Sai Baba, this Anna Sahib wishes to write your biography. Don't say that you are poor and there is no necessity to write it. But if you agree and help him, he will write, or rather, your feet will accomplish the great work. Without your consent and blessing, nothing can be done successfully. When Sai Baba heard this request, he was moved and blessed me by giving him his sacred ashes, and places his boon bestowing hand on my head and said, let him make a collection of stories and experiences. Keep notes and memos. I will help him. He is only an outward instrument. I should write myself my autobiography and satisfy the wishes of my devotees. He should get rid of his ego, place it at my feet. He who acts like this in life, I help him the most. What of my life stories? I serve him in his house in all possible ways. When his ego is completely left no trace, I myself shall enter into him and write my own life. Hearing my stories and teachings will create faith in devotees' hearts, and they will easily get self-realization and bliss. Let there be no instances on establishing one's own view, no attempt to refute others' opinions, no discussions of pros and cons at any subject. The word discussion put me in mind of my promise to explain the story of my title Hemapanta, and now I begin to relate the same. I was on close friendly terms with Kaka Sahib and Nana Sahib Chandorkar. Pushed me to Shri and have Baba's darshanam, and I promised them to do so. But something in the interval turned up which prevented me from going to Shirdi. The son of a friend of mine at Lonavala fell ill. My friend tried all possible means, physically and spiritually, but the fever would not abate. At the length, He got his guru to sit by the bedside of his son, but this too was of no avail. Hearing this, I thought it was the utility of the guru. If you could not save my friend's son, if the guru can't do anything for us, why should I go to Shirdi at all? Thinking in this way, I postponed my Shirdi trip, but the inevitable must happen, and it happened in my case as follows. Mr. Nana Sahib, who was state officer, was going to tour to Bison from Thana locality. He came to Dadar and was waiting for a train bound for Bison. In the meanwhile, a Bandra local turned up. He sat in it and came to Bandra and took me to a task for putting off my Shirdi trip. At Nana's argument for my Shirdi trip was convincing and delightful. So I decided to start for Shirdi at the same night. I packed up my luggage and started for Shirdi. Planned to go to Dadar and there to catch the train for Manmad. So I booked myself for Dadar and sat in the train. While train started, a known friend, Mohammedan, has hastily to my compartment and seeing all my paraphernalia asked me where I was bound to. I told him my plan. He then suggested that I should straight go to Boribandar and not get down at Dadar, for the Manmad mail did not get down at Dadar at all. If this little miracle had not happened, I would not have reached Shirdi the next day as settled, and many doubts would have assailed me. But that was not to be. As fortune favored me, I reached Shirdi next day 10 a.m. Mr. Bhau Sahib was waiting for me there. This was 910 AD, when there was only one place, Sathe's Wada, for lodging pilgrim devotees. After enlighting from the Tanga is a horse and a cart, I was anxious to have darshanam, when the great devotee Tatya Sahib Nulkar returned from the masjid and said that Sai Baba was at the corner of the Vada, and then I should sit first and take preliminary darshanam, and then after bath see him. Hearing this, I ran and prostrated before Baba. There was no bound of my joy. Nana Charutkar had told me that all my senses were satisfied and I forgot thirst and hunger at once, and that was true. The moment I touched Sai Baba's feet, I began a new lease of life. I felt myself much obliged to those who spurred and helped me to get the darshanam. I considered them as my real relatives and cannot repay their debt. I only remember them and prostrated mentally before them. Dear readers, please continue and click to the next link. See the conclusion of chapter 2.